As we mentioned earlier in the newscast, Governor Greg Abbott announcing a new concert safety task force in the wake of the Astroworld tragedy.
That's right. That task force will look at current safety measures and also develop new ones. We are the only TV station in Houston to have the governor live to discuss this new development. Governor, first off, thank you for joining us. Of course, we want to hear more about your task force. But first, what would you like to say about the tragedy itself?
Well, Chris, is horrific, and it is a tragedy. You know, put yourself in the shoes of the parents who have these kids at this concert, and when they drop their kid off or their child leaves home and goes to the concert, they're expecting to see that child just hours later after the concert is over, and to know that when they left home earlier that day, that was going to be the last time they ever saw their child. And that's exactly why we wanted to create this task force, because we want to ensure that this tragedy is not going to be repeated at the countless other venues across the entire state where we hold concerts almost every single day. We want to protect the safety and security of all attendees of all concerts by making sure that we employ safer standards so that other parents will not be losing their children.
Governor, how long do you anticipate the task force to make the recommendations, and how can they be enforced?
So with the timing, they should move at great speed. They will be using some of the information that surfaces in Houston, but also they're going to be bringing together firefighters. As you know, is the fire marshal that's in charge of the occupancy standards as well as the enforcement of that, but bringing also law enforcement officials, state agencies, experts in putting on events like this so that we can come up with best practices to make sure this doesn't happen again. And I believe they will be able to hammer out all those details in a few months. There's different ways that it can be enforced. We have state licensing agencies that might be able to enforce it. It could most likely, typically, is enforced by the local fire marshals. And if we provide these standards to local fire marshals, and if those standards are not upheld, and if another disaster occurs, those fire marshals themselves could be at risk of liability. And so I think that they will adopt the standards that this statewide organization will come up with.
Governor, based on our reporting, we have learned that some security guards who were working at the Astroworld Festival over the weekend say that they were woefully unprepared. You're a dad. Your daughter is old enough to go to this type of festival on her own if she chose to. So when people in charge of protecting her say that they couldn't, that's got to concern you.
Well, it is a big concern, and again, as a dad of a daughter who does go to concerts, again, you fully expect that you're going to have the safety protocols in place as well as the safety personnel in place to ensure that if something does break out, if a stampede does begin to occur, the strategies will both be in place and be implemented to make sure that nobody's going to get hurt. And so I can understand the anguish and anger that these parents and families are going through right now. And this is exactly why I wanted to come up with the statewide task force to make sure that other parents would not be suffering through this same anguish and anger.
Governor, what exactly is the state's role in concert safety, and will this be expanded to other large events?
So this has always really been a local-based issue unless the state was involved in putting on an event. It typically is the provider of the venue as well as the entity putting on the concert working in conjunction with the local fire marshal. And so the state typically hasn't been involved in this process. But because what happened in Houston could happen in Dallas or San Antonio or Austin or some other part of the state of Texas, the state needs to be involved to make sure that we do have some statewide protocols to make sure that parents in any location in the state of Texas will not have to be concerned about their kids who go to concerts like this and their safety and what could happen to them, and make sure that their children will not be victimized like the children were in Houston.
Governor, we have less than a minute left, but another issue facing our state is vaccine mandates, which we know you are fighting. What would you like to tell our viewers who say that the federal government's mandates supersede your executive order?
Listen, it's very simple, and that is there is no constitutional authority whatsoever for the president to use OSHA to implement an order like this. Remember, going back to Obamacare, there was no authority for the federal government to issue an order like this, but for the fact, as Justice Roberts wrote, the Congress was using their taxing authority to impose Obamacare. No president, no executive branch in the federal government under the Constitution can require you to put anything in your body that you do not want to put in your body. And we believe that we're going to win, like we won in the Fifth Circuit Federal Court of Appeals already. I believe that we will also win in the United States Supreme Court.
All right, Governor, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Governor, as always, for the time.
Thank you so much.
If you missed some of the governor's remarks or you'd like to share this discussion with your friends, just head to our website, click2houston.com. We'll be posting the full interview there. You'll also find continuing coverage of the Astroworld tragedy.